Rivalries in the music industry are very common. Artists usually are very egotistical, territorial, and jealous of one another. And a lot of times, the fans and media put the most effort in putting two artists against each other, and sometimes it can just seem that the two stars can't shine next to one another without comparing themselves, getting jealous, or feeling like they have to prove something to each other. This has been seen many times with stars like Lil Kim and Foxy Brown, Tupac and Biggie Smalls, Katy Perry and Taylor Swift, Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, Mariah Carey and Jennifer Lopez, and many, many more. But there is a feud that in pop music that is the biggest of them all, but some actually aren't aware that these two icons hated each other. And this rivalry is Michael Jackson versus Prince. Michael Jackson and Prince are two of the most influential, famous, impactful artists that ever touched the stage and exist. They both ruled the 80s, becoming the two biggest male artists of the decade, as they sold hundreds of millions of records. Both had colossally successful blockbuster hit albums and were loved by the whole world. In the perfect world, they would be friends and have enjoyed each other's company, as they were both the biggest black men in show business and cheered each other on for their success. But it seems that their egos got the best of them. There's a lot of things that made the stars hate each other, so I'll be listing them all today. Michael Jackson and Prince share similarities, but both of their lives and upbringings were also completely different. The king of pop, MJ, was a superstar since he was a child, performing all around the world since he was an adolescent, so he had much more experience as a star on stage than Prince did. Prince started by playing the club circuit in Minnesota as a teenager, then found success in his 20s, then released his debut album For You in 1978. The next year, Michael Jackson released one of the biggest albums of all time, Off the Wall. In 1983, Michael Jackson had been crowned the king of pop and the biggest star in the world and of all time, and had reached new stratospheric success in the music industry that the world had never seen. His album Thriller had become the best-selling album of all time, and he had revolutionized the music industry forever by bringing the music video to a worldwide successful platform and craft that it had never seen before, solidified as a way to market music going forward and made it an art form. He was number one, he was the best, we all know the story, it's Michael Jackson. But also in the same year, Prince has seen large success, not anywhere near Michael's level, and nowhere near the success of Purple Rain, which would shake the world and make him a bona fide superstar a year later. But 1999 had huge success as it became Prince's breakthrough album, with immense critical success, being certified 4 times platinum and being named the 5th biggest album of 1983, as Michael Jackson's Thriller was the number 1 album. And in this year, the Michael Jackson and Prince feud would officially begin. Both Michael and Prince admired and were influenced by King of Soul, James Brown. At a now iconic James Brown performance, he called up Michael to the stage. Michael performed with phenomenal vocals, did his signature moonwalk and James Brown inspired moves, and the crowd went wild as usual. Duh, it's Michael Jackson. After he performed, he whispered to Brown, "Call Prince up. I dare him to follow me," which is so hilarious because Michael really wanted all the smoke. It shows how conscious he was of his talent and power and how competitive he was. He knew no one could follow him up. James responded, "Who?" which shows where Prince found himself at the point of his career. But anyways, Prince's performance, it was a mess, y'all. He stripped down to his bare chest, performed a cringeworthy Jimi Hendrix impression, then fell into a prop lamppost that caused him to fall into the crowd. James Brown was so shocked that he picked Prince's jacket up off the floor and handed it back to him personally. Jackson quoted, "He made a fool of himself. He was a joke. People were running and screaming. I was so embarrassed. It was all on video."
Give him a big round of applause because he just insisted that I introduce Prince. Here's here. Prince.
This was such an embarrassing moment for Prince, and I know he just felt so stupid. But how could he not? He just literally got one up by his nemesis, the king of pop, and it had been publicly proven on film that he could not compete with Michael. Like, it was crazy. And Quincy Jones said after the performance, Prince waited in a limo with intentions of running him over. And this is not exactly clear, but Quincy said this is a fact, so who knows. This feud grew even more as the artists came to not like each other more and more by the day. In 1985, Michael invited Prince to collaborate on his future hit single, Bad. Prince recorded a verse but eventually rejected Michael's offer because he didn't agree with the first line of the song. But it is also said that since both of them were control freaks, of course, Prince did not like that the song was billed as Michael Jackson's project, fearing it would make him look inferior to Michael, so he was eventually turned down. Michael was not happy about him being rejected. But now, by this time, Prince was a bona fide superstar. He made history as being the first solo artist to have the number one album, movie, and song all at the same time with Purple Rain. Purple Rain was a phenomenal success. It became a huge seller, selling 25 million copies worldwide and spending a consecutive 24 weeks at number one, being certified 13 times platinum in the US, and his music was innovative and experimental as he gained fans worldwide and was the new supreme. Now, Prince cannot be underestimated and could somewhat rival Michael in a way. Like when it came to numbers, it wasn't as much as Thriller, but he was rivaling him. Michael invited Prince to sing on the charity song, which became a worldwide hit, We Are the World, which features some of the world's biggest stars, including Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Lionel Richie, and Cyndi Lauper. Prince requested to record by himself, and that didn't happen. They didn't let him do it. So he didn't do it. He turned him down. Prince will also call Michael Camille to his face and attempt to humiliate him in front of his peers. Things even got weirder when Prince supposedly tried to put voodoo on Michael. So the story goes, Michael and Prince were still supposed to do bad, like it was still in the works. Prince showed up at Michael's house with an overcoat and a big white box, and on the box was Prince's nickname for Michael, Camille. Quincy Jones said the box had all kinds of stuff, some cufflinks with Tootsie Rolls on them. He said Michael was scared to death. And when Michael was later asked about the Prince rivalry and comparisons, he quoted, "I don't like to be compared to Prince. I have proven myself since I was real little. It's not fair he feels like I'm his opponent. I hope he changes because, boy, he's going to get hurt. He's the type that might commit or something." In 2006, will.i.am was a guest artist at Prince's residency, and he was friends with Michael, so he arranged it for Michael to be a guest in the audience. Prince knew this, and so he went up to Michael and went straight to Michael's face and wildly, aggressively played his bass guitar like all in his face, basically being disrespectful. The next morning, while Will was at Michael's house, he was outraged, quoted, "Why do you think Prince was playing bass in my face? He's always been a big meanie and not nice to me. Everybody says Prince is this legendary Renaissance man, and I'm just a song and dance man. But I wrote Billie Jean, and I wrote We Are the World. I'm a songwriter too." So obviously, there was some insecurities from both sides. More and more countless things occurred between the two icons, and they never made up. Like, they never became friends. And the rivalry was even present up to the last days of the King of Pop. As Michael prepared for his residency at London's O2 Arena, as he quoted, "I want to make my performances the biggest in the world. If I'm not there to receive these ideas, God might give them to Prince." Which is insane because even after all the years that passed and they had went through so much, they just never was able to bury the hatchet and put things behind them. In conclusion though, Michael and Prince did not like each other. The whole world loved them and they became icons that pushed the boundaries of music, pop culture, and artistic vision and direction. They will never be forgotten and always remembered for their talent, work ethic, intelligence, and their interesting, hilarious personalities in the biggest rivalry in pop music history.